Hello, children. The story that we are going to discuss today is The Adventures of Toto. This is a short story written by Ruskin Bond, who is an Indian author. Ruskin Bond was born in Kasauli, which is a hill station in Himachal Pradesh, but now he is settled in Mussoorie, a hill station in Uttar Pradesh. The story is based on the background of the city of Dehradun. Dehradun earlier was a town in Uttar Pradesh, but now it is the capital of Uttaranchal. And in the story, the narrator is a school going child. He is an adolescent child who is very friendly with his grandfather. And his grandfather had a small private zoo at his home in which he had kept so many animals. Well, his grandfather used to go to the city of Saharanpur from Dehradun. And Saharanpur is a city in Uttar Pradesh. And when this story was written, at that time, Dehradun also was in Uttar Pradesh. Of course, now it is in Uttaranchal. It is the capital of Uttaranchal. So from Dehradun to Saharanpur, he used to go to collect his monthly pension. Of course, he must be a retired government employee. Well, this story is about a pet monkey, a pet little monkey, which is bought by the narrator's grandfather and kept in his zoo. Other details we'll see when we discuss this story just now. The introduction, which is given here, as you can see on the screen, I am reading it. Have you ever had a baby monkey as a pet? Toto is a baby monkey. Let us find out whether he is mischievous or docile. Mischievous, I have given the meaning here, you can read. It means behaving badly or naughty. Whether Toto was mischievous or he was docile. Docile means very gentle and easily manageable. Docile. You will just see and you will decide yourself whether he was a mischievous monkey or a docile monkey. And the theme, as I have given here, you can read it. Theme or the topic or the central idea of this story is this: the readers of this story are impelled or driven to think how annoying or irritating it might be to keep certain wild animals as pets. Certain wild animals, they are fit to remain in jungles, in wilds. They can't be managed if you bring them at home as pets, as we can see in this story in the example of a monkey called Toto. The example here is a little red monkey named Toto. So this is the brief introduction which I wanted to give you. Now let us start the story and you will understand all the details. I have marked the pages and it will be easy for you to understand it. Okay, as I told you, my dear boys and girls, that his grandfather had a small zoo at home. So the first paragraph runs like this: grandfather bought Toto from a Tonga driver. Tonga driver means carriage driver, for the sum of 5 rupees. The Tonga driver used to keep the little red monkey tied to a feeding trough. This feeding trough is a trough for the animals from where they drink water or eat some fodder. Okay, and the monkey looked so out of place there that grandfather decided he would aid the little fellow to his private zoo. So it becomes clear that the grandfather had a private zoo at home, and he decided that that poor little monkey also should be bought and kept in his private zoo. So he bought the monkey for 5 rupees from the Tonga driver. Okay. Now in the second paragraph, the author gives you the description of the monkey. It was a pretty, it was a pretty monkey. Pretty means attractive. He had bright eyes and he had deep set eyebrows and he had very pearly white bright teeth, and when it smiled it frightened elderly Anglo-Indian ladies. A very frightening smile he gave to them. Okay, but his hands looked like dried up, as though they had been pickled in the sun for many years. But his fingers were quick and wicked, and he had a long tail. Okay, and that tail added to his good looks, and that tail also served as a third hand. He could use it to hang from a branch, and it was capable of scooping up. Scooping means you collect something with a spade or something like that. So he used to scoop or collect. Okay, it was capable. It means that tail was capable of scooping up any delicacy. Any delicacy means any fruit or any edible or anything. Okay, that might be out of reach of his hands. So the thing which he couldn't manage with his hands, he used to pull with his tail. This is how the monkey is described in this second paragraph. Then the next paragraph. Okay, the grandfather had kept a zoo. It was known to the narrator, who is a boy. Okay, but his grandmother was just against it. Grandmother always fussed when grandfather brought home some new bird or animal. She was just against it. She was just against the idea of keeping any pet at home. So she just, showed some disagreement or some, she felt sulky whenever any new animal was brought by the grandfather to the zoo. Okay, so in the zoo, birds and animals were there. So it was decided that Toto's presence should be kept a secret from her until she was in a particular good mood. Grandfather and I put him away in a little closet opening into my bedroom wall, where he was tied securely, or so we thought, to a peg fastened into the wall. Peg means, this some in Hindi you call it khila, isn't it? That peg from which you hang the clothes, etc. Okay, the peg was fastened into the wall, and the little monkey was tied with a rope to that peg, and it was a small closet, small room in which the monkey was kept, and this secret was kept from the grandmother. She was not told that they have bought a monkey and the monkey is in their house and it is kept in a little closet. And that little closet, unfortunately, had an opening into the bedroom of the narrator, who is a school-going boy. And they thought it is tied securely. Then what happens? You see, a few hours later, when grandfather and I came back to release Toto, they thought they should release him now. For a long time, he had been kept tight over there. We found that the walls, which had been covered with some ornamental paper chosen by grandfather, now stood out as naked brick and plaster. So he had removed the ornamental paper from the wall. He had pulled out the ornamental paper. The peg in the wall had been wrenched from its socket. It was pulled out from the socket. The peg was pulled out. And my school blazer, which had been hanging there, was in shreds, in small pieces. He had torn his He had completely spoiled his school blazer. He had torn it into small pieces. I wondered what grandmother I wondered what grandmother would say, but grandfather didn't worry. He seemed pleased. His grandfather was very much crazy about keeping the pets. So he seemed pleased with Toto's performance. And he said, he's clever, said grandfather. Given time, I'm sure he could have tied the torn pieces of your blazer into a rope and made his escape from the window. He would have just joined it together those the torn pieces of your blazer, and he would have made a rope, and he would have got down from the window and escaped. This is what the grandfather interprets the situation. Well, then next what happens, you see in the next paragraph, his presence was kept secret from the grandmother, as you have seen just now. Toto was now transferred to a big cage in the servants' quarters, where a number of grandfather's pets lived very sociably together. They lived sociably together in the servants' quarter, and Toto was transferred there. Okay, he was kept with the other animals, and there were other creatures. As you can see here, a tortoise was there, a pair of rabbits was there, a tame squirrel, and for a while, the narrator's pet goat also was there. These animals were there in the servants' quarters. But when Toto was kept, he wouldn't allow his companions to sleep during night. So again, it was a troublesome situation. So grandfather, who had to leave Dehradun next day, he had to leave Dehradun to collect his pension in Saharanpur, decided to take him along. Grandfather, who lived in Dehradun, used to go to Saharanpur to collect his pension. So he decided that he would take the monkey Toto with him because he was very mischievous and troubling the other animals. Okay, then it has been decided, and the author says that he did not accompany grandfather to Saharanpur, but afterwards his grandfather narrated him the story what had happened when he had taken the pet monkey to Saharanpur. So to carry the monkey, a big black canvas kit bag was provided for Toto. This with some straw at the bottom, and some straw was spread at the bottom, so it should work as a cushion for the monkey, and it would make the bag or the sitting inside the bag comfortable. There was no room for escape. Okay, when the bag was closed, the chain was closed, the monkey couldn't escape, and that canvas was too strong for him to bite his way through. He couldn't bite or tear and come out. But now the bag, his efforts to get out only had the effect of making the bag roll about on the floor or occasionally jump into the air. So when the bag was closed, inside, Toto felt uncomfortable and he started moving left and right, and he started jumping. So when the bag the monkey was taken to the Dehradun railway platform, and from there he has to board a train for Saharanpur. So at the Dehradun railway platform, he was waiting for the train to arrive, and it was just a great exhibition that attracted a curious crowd of passengers, onlookers, or the passengers who were looking on and waiting for the train to arrive. So it was a very interesting and attractive sight for the other passengers who were at the Dehradun railway platform. the bag jumping. They didn't know what is inside the bag, whether it is a monkey or anything else. Some live thing or animal or pet must be there inside the bag, they might have thought. Anyway, then what happens? Toto remained in the bag. Toto remained in the bag as far as Saharanpur. Now the train went to Saharanpur, and now at the turnstile is a iron revolving gate. It turns round and round, and the passengers go out of the platform. Okay, so at the turnstile, the ticket collector was collecting the tickets of the passengers. At that time, Toto suddenly poked his head out of the bag and gave the ticket collector a wide grin. Grin means he just showed his teeth to the ticket collector. Just somehow he poked his head from the bag, even if the bag was very tightly closed. God knows how he managed it to open, and he poked out. He just poked out his head, and he grinned at the ticket collector. The poor man, that means the ticket collector, was taken aback. He was surprised or shocked. Taken aback means surprised or shocked. I have given the meaning, you can see here. But with great presence of mind, and much to grandfather's annoyance means irritation, he said, "Sir, you have a dog with you. You have a dog with you. You will have to pay for it accordingly." So the fare is collected from the passengers, and if you have any pet animal, any dog, etc., the freight is collected from you, or any moving this baggage, etc., any bag, etc., the freight is collected. Okay, so he said that you will have to buy a ticket or freight ticket for the animal, and it is a dog. But grandfather tried to convince him in vain. In vain means without yielding any desirable results. In vain, just astray, or without any desirable results. In vain did grandfather take Toto out of the bag. In vain did he try to prove that the monkey did not qualify as a dog, or even as a quadruped. Quadruped means four-legged animal. Toto was classified as a dog by the ticket collector, and 3 rupees was the sum handed over as his fare. Fare means here he means freight. Okay, so in ticket collector's list of animals, of course, there was not the mention of monkey, but he somehow classified him as a dog and collected 3 rupees as his fare. Okay, then grandfather was somewhat irritated. Okay, just to get his own back, the grandfather took from his pocket our pet tortoise and said, "What must I pay for this, since you charge for all animals?" He shows the tortoise, the pet tortoise. The ticket collector looked closely at the tortoise, prodded means pushed, or just pushed with the finger, prodded it with his forefinger, gave grandfather a pleased and triumphant means victorious, okay, triumphant look, and said, "No charge, it's not a dog, it's a tortoise, it's not a dog," he said. "So you need not pay any charge for this." Well, here in the picture you can see the ticket collector and grandfather. Well, then the next paragraph. So we have seen that Toto's existence or presence at home was kept a secret from the grandmother. But finally they tell the grandmother that they had brought a new pet. It was a monkey, and its name was Toto. When Toto was finally accepted by grandmother, and she accepted it. She finally accepted it as a pet in their zoo. He was given a comfortable home in the stable. Stable means a place where the horses and the donkeys are kept. Where he had for a companion a family donkey Nana. She was a female donkey, and with that donkey, he was kept in the stable. Okay, on first on Toto's first night in the stable, grandfather paid him a visit to see if he was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana without apparent cause, pulling at her halter and trying to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. Hay means the fodder which is given to the animal to eat. Halter means rope. I have given the meaning here, you can see. Halter means rope. So Nana, the female donkey, was pulling the halter, pulling the rope with which she was tethered there or tied there. Okay, and she was keeping away from the bundle of hay. She was not eating at all. So what grandfather did, he gave a slap across her haunches. Haunches means buttocks or loins, back part of the this donkey. He gave a slap on it, and she jerked back, dragging Toto with her. When she jerked and started moving, the Toto also was being dragged with her. He had fastened onto her long ears with his sharp little teeth. He was just biting her ear, and he was not leaving, isn't it? He was just holding her ears, and he also was dragged along with Nana, the donkey. Now grandfather understood why she was uncomfortable. So this way we can understand, my dear boys and girls, you can understand how naughty, how mischievous Toto was. And they never became friends. Toto and Nana never became friends. Next paragraph, it runs like this. A great treat for Toto during cold winter evenings was the large bowl of water, warm water, given to him by grandmother for his bath. So grandmother used to give a bowl of water for bath to the monkey. Okay, so what he would, while taking bath, also he used to copy grandfather. First he would test the temperature with his finger. Okay, then gradually he will step into the bath. First one foot, then another foot. Okay, as he had seen his grandfather, the narrator's grandfather, like that he was behaving until he was into the water up to his neck, and then he dipped himself in the water up his neck. Once comfortable, he would take the soap and rub himself all over. He rubbed the soap all over his body. Okay, and when the water became cold, he came out of the tub and ran quickly to the kitchen fire to warm himself. But nobody should laugh while monkey was taking bath and running to the kitchen fire. Okay, otherwise if anybody laughed at him, okay, he would refuse to go on with his bath. He would not go for bath if anybody made a fun of him. So he was such a conscious monkey, intelligent monkey, you can say. Now the narrator says, one day Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. Boiling himself alive. How Toto nearly boiled himself alive, that has been described in the following paragraph. Okay, a large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil for tea, and Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. So Toto removes the lid, okay, and he gets into the boiling kettle. It was on the fire or on the stove. Okay, it was on the fire of the stove, you can say. So he gets in, and with his head sticking out, his head was out, and his body was inside the kettle. The water was boiling slowly. Water began to boil, and Toto raised himself a little, but finding it cold outside, he sat down again. So further the water further boiled. Okay, and now he would have been boiled to death. But grandmother arrived and hauled him half boiled out of the kettle. Haul out. It's a phrasal verb, means drag out. She drew out or carried out. Grandmother dragged out or drew out or carried out the monkey out of the kettle. Otherwise, he would have been killed by overboiling. So this is how Toto was saved by the grandmother. Okay. Now the author says his brain, if there is a part of the brain especially developed to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. He was always steering things. So see, he had the word the author wants to say here, he had a mischievous mind. He had a mischievous mindset, mischievous type of mind he had. Okay, what he was doing, he was always steering things to pieces. Okay, and when any of the narrator's aunts came near him, he just chased them, terrorized them, and get hold of her dress and tore a hole in it. He used to, in this way, he used to terrify the aunts by tearing a hole in their costume, in their dress. Okay, so in this way, a number of mischiefs he used to play on the family members. This is what we understand here. Okay, in this paragraph. Oh, well, then the next paragraph, what the monkey did one day, it has been described by the author in the next paragraph. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. So pulao was kept in a dish on the dining table for all to eat at the lunchtime, and there was nobody at the dining table. But when we entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with rice, that pulao, that rice was being eaten by Toto. Toto was eating rice. And when the narrator's grandmother saw it, she screamed very loudly, and Toto threw a plate at her. He got angry why she screamed, and he threw a plate at the grandmother. One of my aunts, he had many aunts, one aunt rushed forward and she protested. Then again, the other end, Toto also, gave the right reply to her, and she received a glass of water in her face. He hit the narrator's aunt with a glass of water in her face. He hit her in the face with a glass full of water. This type of mess he had been creating in the dining room, okay, at the dining table. Then the grandfather came. When grandfather arrived, what Toto did, he picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit through the window. He ran out through a window, carrying the dish of pulao in his hand, and he climbed a jackfruit tree. And all afternoon he remained at the jackfruit tree, and he had been eating the pulao slowly, okay, grain by grain. Every grain he ate, and he made the plate empty. And then he was angry with grandmother because she had screamed at him in the dining room. Okay, so then when all pulao was eaten in the afternoon, okay, in order to spite grandmother, spite means show anger to grandmother. Spite means to show anger to grandmother who had screamed at him. He threw the dish down from the tree and chattered. Chattered means chattering sound he made. Chattering sound he made, as if you are chattering, talking or murmuring, that type of sound he made with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. He threw the dish down from the tree, from the jackfruit tree, and the dish was broken into hundreds of pieces. And the monkey was delighted and he chatters. In this way, the monkey was a constant irritant. Okay, it was a nonsense for all the family members. It was difficult to keep that monkey for long in their family, in their household. All decided that the monkey is becoming a nuisance, and earlier grandfather had a very positive opinion about the monkey, but finally he also was convinced. Okay, so in the last paragraph you can understand what they do, what the family does. Obviously Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. He was not a sort of pet, means he was a very mischievous pet. He was not docile. He couldn't be domesticated. He remained wild as long as he was with them at their home. Okay, even grandfather realized it. Earlier grandfather was favoring the monkey, but finally he also realizes that no, Toto is really very awesome, very troublesome, and it can't be managed as a pet for a long time. So we were not well to do. That means financially the family was not very well off. So the author says we were not well to do and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtains, and wallpapers. He used to spoil all these things. Dishes used to break, clothes he used to tear into shreds. Okay, curtains he used to tear and spoil. Okay, and wallpapers also he used to pull out. So grandfather found the Tonga driver, the same Tonga driver from whom he had bought the monkey for 5 rupees. Okay, so he finds him again. He goes in search of him and he finds him and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. He had bought Toto for 5 rupees, and finally when Toto became a source of constant annoyance for the family, he sells the same monkey, the Toto, to him just for 3 rupees. That means at the loss of 2 rupees he sells. In this way we can understand, we find that finally the monkey goes back to its original owner, who was a Tonga driver. So in the interval we have seen how he was when grandfather had purchased him from, or bought him from the Tonga driver, and in the interval he was in the grandfather's private zoo, and what activities, annoying activities he did there, all the account we have seen in the story, my dear boys and girls. And finally he returns back to his original owner. There the story ends, and the theme I have already told you in the beginning of the story. It is an easy to understand story. The story is very easy to understand and very interesting. The story, as I have told you, is written by Ruskin Bond. There are questions in the end of the lesson. You attempt them, okay, and in case of any doubt or difficulty you can discuss with me. That's all for today. Have a nice time. Goodbye and thank you very much.